Hi and welcome to Online Appliance Tech. Today in this video we're going to work on the newer model Samsung refrigerator. We're going to go over the error codes and the meanings of the error codes, and also if you're a technician we're going to show you how to check the power output from the main control board. So if this is your model, this video is for you. So now we're going to pull up the error codes. So let's place this in diagnostic mode by holding the fridge key and the power cord key for 10 seconds. So if you already have an error code flashing, that's great. You can just bypass this part and go straight to the error code list. If you do hold the fridge and the power cord down, this will basically clear the error codes. However, they will appear again, being they're not been resolved. So now let's enter self-diagnostic mode to pull up any stored error codes. To enter this mode, you do have to have a clean display. In other words, no errors showing. At the moment, you'll hold the fridge and the power cord key down for 10 seconds. At this moment, if you have any stored error codes, they will display here. And once you've received your error codes, then you can refer to the self-diagnostic checklist, which is coming up next. However, if you do open up your refrigerator and your display is blinking like this, and you hit the pads and obviously none of the buttons are corresponding, unplug the refrigerator and plug it back in, and the display should show the error code. Okay, great. So now we're getting into the error codes. The first error code is going to be C1. This stands for the freezer sensor. If you check out harness CN20 between pin 10 and 12, it should read 4.5 to 1 volts, as you can see here. Here in the next section, I'm going to show you how to read the voltage, resistance, and so forth using this resistance chart. Okay, I'm going to do a quick section how to understand this chart to test the resistance, the DC voltage, and so forth. So I'll just do it once for this one section of the video. I will leave a screenshot at the end of this video just in case you want to have a copy of it. So say we have the freezer thermistor and we're checking it through the main control board like it states before through the numbers of the output. So say if it's 5 degrees Fahrenheit, we put our temperature gauge in there, we're around 5. Obviously it's not going to be correct because you have to put a date on the thermistor itself, but if you're positive or negative in the degrees like 8 or 2 degrees Fahrenheit, that's close enough. We should get this voltage range in here, the 3.4 to the 3.8. So if we do check this and we're getting voltage 4218, so actually that's resistance, my bad, 1483 DC voltage, that means inside it should be 86 degrees Fahrenheit, but yet if we go over here and we know that it's 5, then that's a problem. So we should be reading 3.594, so that could be a short in the thermistor or the main control board. So not knowing which one it is, this is when the resistance will come in handy. So then you can unplug it, take the prong out and check for resistance. So if your resistance is reading over here, which one was it anyway, 4526, then obviously that's a problem. It should be reading 25562, which is 25,000. So that's 25K 562. Okay, once again, this is where you would check to make sure you get the right DC voltage. Let's go to error code C2. This is the fridge sensor. Harness CN29 and 11 should read anywhere from 1.0 to 4.5 DC voltage. Okay, error code C4. This is the freezer compartment defrost sensor CN20 harness. Pin 6 and 8, 4.5 to 1.0 DC voltage. Error code C6 on harness CN60 on pins 3 and 5 should read 4.5 to 1.0 DC volts. Error code C8 ice maker freezer sensor error on harness CN90 on pins 11 and 13 shall be between 4.5 volts to 1.0 volts DC volts. Error code C13 humidity sensor harness CN60 pins 3 and 7 shall read between 4.5 to 1.0 DC volts. Error code C14 Ice Maker Fridge Sensor Error. This voltage on the main board on harness CN90 pins 14 and 24 should be between 4.5 volts to 1.0 DC volts. Error code C15 Ice Room Sensor Error. On harness CN90 between pins 2 and 4 should be between 4.5 and 1.0 DC volts. Error code C21 Freezer Fan Error Code. The voltage on the main board on harness CN20 pins 16 and 18 should be between 7 volts and 12 volts. If you do not get this output power from the main board, it would be your main board. If you are receiving this output power, it would be a bad freezer fan motor. Error code C23 Condenser Fan Error. The voltage on the main board harness CN40 pins 13 and 15 should be between 7 volts and 12 volts. Same concept, if you're not getting power from the main board, it's your main board. If you're receiving the output power from the main board, more than likely it's your condenser fan motor. Error code C24 Freezer Defrost Error. So make sure you unplug this unit and then you're going to disconnect harness CN20. And on pins 6 and 8, you should read anywhere between 63 to 230 ohms, give or take 7%. If you read open line, then that's a bad sensor. Or if out of range between the ohms that was given, you have a shorted sensor. Error code C26 Ice Maker Freezer Error. So if the ice maker is not working, Samsung recommends to replace it and then plug it back in and check for operation. Error code C27 Pantry Room Damper Heater Error. So unplug the unit. On harness CN40, disconnect from the main board. On pin 25 and 27, you should read 135 ohms resistance, give or take 7%. If it reads out of that range, that means the heater is shorted. If it reads open line, that means the heater is open. Error code C33 Freezer Ice Pipe Heater Error. So disconnect the power, basically unplug it, disconnect harness C90. On pins 1 and 5 should be between 63 to 230 ohms, give or take 7% resistance. And if it reads open line, that means the heater is open. If it reads out of this range, that means it's shorted. Error code C34 Water Tank Heater Error. So disconnect the power, and on harness CN60, pin 21 and 23 should read 62 ohms resistance, give or take 7%. If it reads open line, that means you have a bad heater. If it reads out of that range, you have a shorted heater. Error code C39 Ice Maker Fridge Error. Recommendation is to replace the ice maker and then check for operation. Error code C40 Ice Room Fan Error. The voltage on the output should be 7 volts to 12 volts on harness C20 on pin 22-24. Error code C41 Main Panel ELF Hub Communication Error. Error code C44 Main Inverter Communication Error. Error code C46 10 Expander Communication Error. It states here it's desirable to replace the main control board. Error code C47 Main Dispenser Panel Communication Error. Error code C61 Fridge Ice Duct Heater Error. Disconnect the power and disconnect harness CN20 on pins 21 and 23 should read anywhere between 63 and 230 ohms, give or take 7%. If it reads open line, that means it's open, and if it reads out of that range, it means it's shorted. Error code C65. This is a fridge ice room heater error. Disconnect the power and on harness C and 20 you will remove from the main board. On pins 9 and 23 you should read 135 ohms, give or take 7%. If it reads open line, that means you have an open heater. If it reads out of that range, it means you have a shorted heater. Error code C71. This is the freezer compartment stating that it's kind of high or abnormal temperatures. Error code C72. This is the freezer compartment. It is stating it has abnormal high temperatures. Up next, we're going to go over the compressor error codes. Error code C81. This means compressor start failure. Error code C82. Compressor IPM fault error code. Error code C83, compressor location detection error. So these kind of don't make sense in a way, and I would understand. So here in a moment at the end of the video, I'm going to go over the LED blinking on the main control board, and it will explain to you more in depth of what's going on. Error code C84, this is the compressor motor error. Compressor is locking up. This is exactly what the code means. Usually caused by dirty condenser coils, and over time compressor overheating. Error code C85, compressor low voltage error. This means that the compressor is not getting the correct voltage from the inverter or the main control board to run correctly. Error code C86, compressor over voltage error. In other words, the compressor is receiving too much voltage from the main control board. Error code C96, compressor IPM shutdown error. In other words, this sounds like some type of main control board or circuit problem. Now let's go over the MPC blinking error codes for the compressor, which is located on the main board. So if you get a solid red LED light, that tells you that the compressor is working with normal operation. If the LED light is only blinking once in sequence, that means it's a starting failure. That means there's a short between the main board and the compressor. If you're receiving two LED lights blinking in sequence, that's the SPM fault. This indicates that the main board is not sending the correct voltage to operate the compressor. If you're receiving three blinking LED lights in sequence, this indicates that you have a wire that's open between the main board and the compressor, or the winding in itself inside the compressor is shorted. If you're receiving four blinking lights in sequence, which is a very common one, and actually usually shows the C84 error code, is the locked motor or over RPM. This indicates that the motor itself is locked up. If you're receiving 5 LED lights in sequence, this means under voltage. In other words, the main control board is not sending enough current or voltage to the compressor to run it correctly. If you're receiving 6 LED lights in sequence, this is an over voltage error code. In other words, there must be a short or the main control board is sending too much voltage. Here is where you will find the LED light on your main control board to see if you have any of these error codes or blinking lights above. On this job I got the C84 error code, and as you can see here is blinking 4 times in sequence, which means locked motor. The coils was very dirty, and usually that's what causes the problem in the motor to lock up. Test mode manual operation for manual defrost function. Press the fridge and power cool buttons at the same time for at least 6 seconds. The control display will blink with an interval of 0.5 seconds. In case you may take your fingers off both the buttons, don't worry, just press the power cool button to enter the test mode. If any key on the front panel is pressed within 15 seconds after the test mode, it will be operated as below sequence: forced operation, forced defrosting, cancellation, normal operation mode, display all off, then forced operation. If any key on the front panel is not pressed within 15 seconds after the test mode will be cancelled and it will return to previous mode. Okay, so now we're in the forced operation function. If any key is pressed once in test mode, the FF will appear on the display, and this indicates that the refrigerator has entered manual operation test mode. You can check out the chart to see exactly what the first test mode operates and turns on. So once you're in this test operation, you can press any key to move to the next test mode. If manual operation is selected, compressor will run at once without 7 minutes delay in any mode. If the refrigerator is on defrost cycle at the moment, defrost will finish, the manual operation will begin. Be careful, if the manual operation gets started at the moment of the compressor off, an overload could occur. If manual operation works, compressor the fan operates continuously for 24 hours, and the fresh food compartment will be controlled by the settings of the temperature. When the manual operation runs, setting temperatures will be selected automatically as below. Freezer temperatures -8 Fahrenheit, 23 Celsius, fridge temperature 34 Fahrenheit, 1 Celsius. Manual operation can be canceled just by unplugging the unit and replugging back in. Force defrost. If you press the lock key again while the forced operation FFA is running, FD is displayed on the display. The forced operation is canceled immediately and the forced defrost FD operation runs. If the forced defrost begins, a beeping sound will be heard for 2 seconds, and then the sound will turn on for 0.5 seconds and then off for 0.5 seconds repeatedly while the forced defrost function runs. At this time, it will send out a beep sound for 2 seconds and then it will perform a defrost cycle while sending out the 0.5 second on and 0.5 seconds off sound. To cancel this test mode during the operation of the freezer departments, the display panel, you can just change test mode to the next step, which by just pressing the button one more time, and then it'll go to normal operation. Or you could just unplug it, give it about 5-10 seconds and plug it back in. Well, I hope this video was helpful, and please like and subscribe for more future tips and videos, and have a good day.